Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Like sheep led to slaughter, does anyone in the financial world really care about you and your money? Well, let's find out.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist, and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
In 2008, with the stock market falling off a cliff for not just one, but for 4 straight years, it dawned on me how little the financial world cared about the anguish this huge market correction was causing to savers who were experiencing losses of up to 60% of their life savings. As someone who had already turned a deaf ear to the just hang in there crowd from Wall Street, luckily I had positioned my clients' money into safer territory and did not have to deal with the worries that come with having all of your money at risk in the stock market. Which is why, after watching so many savers being herded around like sheep, I decided to write this book published in 2010 called Don't Follow the Herd, where I warned savers to never drink downstream from the rest of the herd and instead get on a new path of safety and security with your money. I'm reminded that nothing has really changed. The financial world, while possibly having good intentions with our money, really doesn't care in the end what might happen to it if they can just continue to make more money on other people's money. Which leads to the title of today's show, in the words of my late great father, Dick Walker,
who cares?
Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, hard-working retirement specialist and full-time fiduciary, Tony Walker. You want to know the real reason I continue to work this hard at a point in my life where I really don't have to? Well, I'll answer it with 2 simple words totaling only 5 letters from the alphabet. You ready? Yep, here it is. Because I care. I care about the people we serve. I care about the staff who are responsible for fulfilling the service obligations that I promise to our clients, and I care about providing good quality educational content on this show each week so that others might be worry-free in retirement. So where did I get this caring attitude of serving others? Well, from a lot of people, of course, but I must give a lot of this credit to my late great father, Richard Dick Walker, who I watched as a young lad forfeit a potentially lucrative career in the private sector to instead pursue financially measly salaries to serve in the public sector. For my father, it all started back in the 1950s as a counselor to delinquent youth at a place just outside Lexington, Kentucky called the Kentucky Village. A few years after that, he landed a job as the director of the Lexington-Fayette County Children's Bureau, a place for disabled children and a place for displaced children that they could look after. Then, several years after leading that organization in 1973, my father moved from Lexington to Bowling Green, Kentucky, where he took over what was then called Barren River Mental Health and Mental Retardation, an organization with only 1 full-time employee at the time and many years of growth thereafter. After 14 years of servicing that organization and growing it into one of the leaders in the state with the mental health services it offered, it's now referred to as Life Skills, by the way, my father was forced to retire due to health issues. And then, just a few years later, Dad would breathe his last breath at the ripe young age of 64. My father's caring spirit toward others did have a huge impact on me, as I realized that helping people is not always about the money, but about the desire to see others do better than what they currently are doing. My father's attitude about working hard and serving hard, it serves as a motivation for me to keep going, especially given the fact that my mind and body are still functioning well past when my father's could not. Today, as Tony Walker Financial continues to grow in number and continues to serve more and more savers than ever before, I can attribute that same caring attitude and spirit to a staff who cares about our clients as well. So how do we at Tony Walker Financial care so much for others in a world that appears to be short of it? Well, stay tuned as we discuss the 10 ways you know if an advisor cares for you, as we entitle today's show, Who Cares? I'm Tony Walker, and we will be right back. Getting ready to roll over your 401k to an advisor you barely know? Are they just going to invest your money, or do they actually have experience in retirement planning? Well, here's my advice. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Get a written game plan from an experienced retirement planning firm that has created more than 5,000 written game plans. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. So you've worked 30 or 40 years slaving away at work so you can save away money into your 401k, and now you arrive at the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make, where to invest your 401k plan. Think about it. For all these years, you've had a steady paycheck, compliments from your employer for all of your hard work that you dedicated to them. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to figure out how to replace that paycheck with the money you've been saving. No wonder you're worried about what to do and who to trust with that money, which is why we at Tony Walker Financial are providing a brand new free service called the 10-Minute Fiduciary Phone Call. And here's how simple it is to learn more about our services and our 401k rollover process. First, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, click on the Let's Get Started button. You'll be taken to a page. Confidentially, you can fill out your information on the screen and then click below the best way for us to speak together. It could either be myself or one of our other trained fiduciaries. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Before you make a rash decision and blindly turn your money over to a complete stranger to invest, consider a name and a firm you can trust, Tony Walker Financial. And, oh, by the way, if you like, you can give us a call to speak to us at any time by phone by simply calling 877-499-9255. I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Okay, back to our show, Who Cares? Why would a little man in a sweater vest who could call it quits and take my winnings and go home continue to see this many people each and every week? Well, I got two words for you. It's because I care. Problem is, from the feedback I receive from so many savers who come to me for a second opinion, apparently many in the financial world do not. So let's look at the 10 ways you can find out if a person or institution handling your money truly cares more about you than they do your money. Number one, are they willing to meet with you in person? Now, again, I generally have 20 to 30, and in this case of this week, 40 appointments, and these are all in-person appointments. So you're going to get to meet with the owner of the company with Tony Walker Financial. What about this? Just keeping the appointments. Had a gentleman came in the other day, and he wanted to talk to me, and I said, what brings you in to see me? And he said, I've had 2 different appointments with the same advisor. The advisor has canceled them, not me. That's not good, folks. Number 3, has a business continuation plan in place. What I mean by that is, if your advisor dies or retires or just quits the business or moves firms, who's going to be there to service what they've sold? And that's the way we work at Tony Walker Financial. In fact, if something happened to me, we have 3 salaried fiduciaries. We have a business continuation plan in place. Everything would continue to run smoothly if for some reason I was not able to function at work. Number 4, cease through all service requests. You know, folks, we are a one-stop shop. If you work with Tony Walker Financial, you don't call the insurance companies for service requests. You don't call Charles Schwab and figure all that stuff out on your own. You call us. You're going to speak to a live person at Tony Walker Financial who's going to know your situation and going to follow through on any service request you have. We promise you that. Number 5, calculates RMDs and also other tax issues. Now, this is a huge deal. At Tony Walker Financial, we have 2 full-time certified tax specialists on board. These folks do not charge a fee if you're a client. Now, we don't do your tax return, but what we're doing is calculations for tax planning. For instance, take the RMD. Many people don't even think about this, nor advisors take the trouble to do this, but sometimes you'll have more than one IRA. Let's say you have 3 IRAs, each worth $100,000. You're 73 years of age or older, and you have to take this required minimum distribution. Well, a lot of advisors just get lazy and just take it out from all three. But let's say the bucket number one is down 20%. Are you going to take an RMD out of that and take a loss? Well, of course not. So where we would come in, our specialist would calculate the overall RMD, and in that case, select a bucket to take the entire distribution out so that it's more efficient and keeps more money in your pocket. Number 6, we get the money to you when you need it. Folks, we are specialists at making sure we distribute money back to our clients. Many advisors and institutions are happy to get your money, but a lot of times they'll fight you tooth and nail when you go to take it back. Number 7, willing to meet with family, tax professionals, and even attorneys. In fact, I had someone the other day that brought in 2 of their family members, adult children, and they wanted me to explain to them what the game plan was. We're happy to do that with any of your tax professionals, attorneys, or family members at no additional cost to you. Number 8, I talk about this. This is our proprietary written game plan. If you don't have something like this, you don't have a retirement plan. I'm sorry. And there's no way anybody's going to be able to monitor your progress. So this is what we use, the retirement game plan, which leads to number 9, the very process of keeping track of things. Think about this, folks. You've worked 30, 40 years, and you could be in retirement another 30 or 40. Depends on how long you live. But what is the mechanism out there that you and your advisor are going to use to track your progress and to help you make financial decisions and meet the changes that will come your way? The written game plan, along with our expertise, we're going to do that again at no additional cost to you. And finally, I'm going to get into this in our next segment. This is interesting. Transparent to you regarding the fees and commissions that we in this business charge. So when I return, it's an interesting little thing I found on the internet. It was an annuity guide written by a money manager of all people. And there's some misinformation in that guide about how we get compensated. And if there is a commission charged, how does that commission affect you? We'll be right back. Are you retired, retiring soon, or possibly faced with your company closing its doors forever? If so, take advantage of this opportunity to roll your 401k into something we call mailbox money.
Mailbox money!
For years, clients of Tony Walker Financial have enjoyed mailbox money, and now you can too by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-9255. Let us help you today.
The following testimonial is from an uncompensated client of Tony Walker Financial. Experiences are personal and may not be representative of all clients.
Hi, I'm Bob Graves.
And I'm Marge Graves, and we live in Louisville, Kentucky.
We're both Vietnam veterans, and really Vietnam is probably what brought us together.
When Bob Hope and Sammy Davis Jr. came over to entertain, they picked a doctor and a nurse that were serving in Vietnam to be their medical team that would travel with them. I came home in January. I had already done the Bob Hope show, and I was going to do Sammy Davis when I got back. And the Courier found out that I had done the Bob Hope show. Then they put a half-page story about my experience in Vietnam and about the Bob Hope show and put a picture of me in the paper. 2 weeks after I got back to Vietnam, I got a letter from a Louisville boy. And so we started writing, and we started writing every day. And all of a sudden, we were kind of falling in love. 6 months later, after I got out of the military, we got married.
Well, I retired in 2008. Marge retired in, 2007. So we've been retired for quite a while now. And
we like it.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
When we first met with Tony, we brought in all of our financial information. And he took a couple of days to look through it and gave us solid advice on where we were, where we would probably be in the future, recommendations that we would have. We
opened up our financial books to Tony, and he went through everything very thorough and came up with a game plan that we still adhere to. I think the game plan is the key. If in life you need a game plan, and definitely in retirement.
Looking for an advisor you can trust? Schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 1-877-499-9255.
With a growing number of financial advisors planning their own retirements, a good question savers might wish to ask their present advisors is this: what happens to me, my money, and my retirement when you retire? It's kind of an oxymoron, don't you think? An advisor holding themselves out as a retirement planning specialist who possibly is spending more time planning their own retirement than they are planning for yours. It's another sign of knowing whether the advisor or the institution making money on your money cares more about you or cares more about making money on your money. You know, I've come up with 10 ways to know if your advisor or financial institution handling your money truly cares, and now we're going to focus on number 10, how we in this industry get paid and whether we are truthful about the amount of money we are making on other people's money. Sadly, many in our industry continue to provide misinformation about whether you should pay advisors a fee to handle your money, which we work on a fee basis, or a commission, which we also work on a commission basis. These money managers might even say wrongly that just because someone charges a commission, we're to presume they are not fiduciaries, which is ridiculous. At Tony Walker Financial, we make money both ways. In some instances, through a tiered fee system, we charge to manage your money, as well as the commissions we earn from insurance companies on the sale of annuities, commissions that do not come out of our clients' pockets. Recently, I was stumbling around on the internet and I saw an ad from a money manager who's constantly dogging advisors selling annuities and how annuity commissions are bad for the consumer. I ordered their free annuity guide, and sure enough, a lot of misinformation about commissions charged on annuities with no mention of how they make money on your money, whether fees are better or commissions are better for the consumer. Now, granted, a lot of insurance companies offer all kinds of different annuities. There's all kinds of different commissions. I'm just going to share with you one type of annuity because this annuity brochure I read basically just assumed all annuities charge high fees, which they do not, and all annuities pay high commissions, which is not always the case. So we're going to take a $500,000 account, and this person is a saver. They want to keep things fairly safe, but they're looking at a money manager. This money manager currently charges 1.5%. In fact, it's funny, in that annuity guide, the money manager didn't disclose how much they charge in fees. I thought that was interesting, but we're going to find out real quick. 1.5%, Tony Walker Financial. Now, in this case, we're not going to show a fee because we're going to put the money, in this example, into an annuity paying us a commission, all right? So the fee, if we took $500,000 at 1.5%, the money manager is going to charge per year. Now, this assumes no growth or whatever. Actually, the annuity we're showing is at 5%, so they make 5% if the fee even goes up. They'll make more money when you make more money. Okay, great. But basically, in this annuity has no fee. So the annuity we're getting ready to provide this client, in other words, moving $500,000 into what's called a MYGA, multi-year guaranteed annuity, comes with no fees, all right? Commissions, that's true. The money manager charges 0 in commissions. That sounds great on the surface. So what is our commission? Our commission on this particular product is a one-time commission, okay? Again, it's one time of 2.5%. We're one and done. We get no other fees. The company is going to pay us the commission. That does not come out of the pocket of the insured. Now, granted, if the person surrenders this contract prior to the end of the 5 years, this is a 5-year annuity, they are going to have to pay some penalties. We're just assuming you leave everything alone for 5 years. So again, we would make $12,500 that's paid to us by the insurance company. That does not come out of your pocket. So what are the totals on all this? Okay, let's say we go over 5 years here and we look at this. Well, if you're going to pay $7,500 a year over the next 5 years, that means you're going to pay this money manager, and that comes out of your pocket, folks, right out of the account, over $37,000, and there's no guarantee that this thing could drop like a rock like it did in 2008. So you're paying a lot of money. They continue to make money on your money whether you do better or do worse. This is the fee system. Again, if you use Charles Schwab with us, we do the same thing, but our fees are about half of this, so just be aware of that. But we come over here, and the total out of pocket, again, assuming you kept this 5-year annuity to its term, so at the end of the 5 years, you'd have all your money, all the interest, and you would have had 0 out of pocket. So the question is, what could you do with an extra $37,000? So you may be sitting there saying, Tony, I had no idea these are how these annuities worked. I keep hearing all these bad things about them too. Well, the only way you're going to get the truth about how managed accounts work and how annuities work is somebody that does both. Folks, I've been licensed to sell annuities and securities. I know both sides. I know the Wall Street side and we know the annuity side. So what I would say is, why don't you at least get a second opinion from someone like us at Tony Walker Financial that specializes in both these areas of expertise? To get started and learn more about our operation, we call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you like, simply call the toll-free number 877-499-9255. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't make the mistake of buying the wrong annuity. Learn more about annuities at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and heads up for those of you out there who are, let me give you some parameters. This is important stuff. Over the age of 50, recently have been laid off, or you know that your company you're currently working for is going through some mass layoffs and you might be one of them. Maybe you're that person out there, you know the company's closing. I had a gentleman the other day that called in. He's looking at rolling over his 401k, and I said, well, are you retired? He said, no, but I'm almost sure this company's going to close and I got to have a game plan. So that might be you. Or maybe you're just wanting to retire, or you're over the age of 59 and a half. Maybe you're going to still work for a while, but you want to get that 401k out of there into the hands of an advisory firm locally that can actually manage it and set up a game plan. If that's you, this is some good stuff, because in the studios at the Worry-Free Production Studios is our own Wes Walker, who is one of the fiduciaries here in Louisville. And as well, we have Mr. Craig Davis. Craig is our 401k rollover specialist here at Tony Walker Financial. So good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing real well. Thanks for the last minute. I do this to you all the time, don't I? What did I email you at 8:30? And what is it, at 9:05 on a, yeah. This is, and we don't want to make light of the situation of layoffs and all that. I know UPS, as we record this show, they've already announced it. I mean, it's public knowledge. Humana's gone through a lot. When I say smaller companies, I'm concerned that maybe these 100 to 200 range employee companies, some interesting things going on there. But first of all, just jump in and see if you concur that this, I think even in 2025, there were millions and millions of layoffs and things. Now, some of that was government related as far as government employees, but huge number of layoffs and terminations in 2025. So moving forward in 2026, what are your thoughts just in general on this?
Well, we're definitely seeing more and more layoffs, and we're seeing a lot of layoffs with people in our target demographic to become clients. You know, people in their 50s, 60s who, hate to say aged out of the workforce, but as new technology comes in, they might not adapt to it as quickly. And two, they might be higher paid employees. The company might see that as a reason to, unfortunately let them go. So if you're planning on retirement or have been near close to retirement and are facing a layoff, it might be a time where we could jump in and help.
Yeah, that's, I don't know how many, I looked, I forgot the statistic. In 2025, do you know right offhand how many rollover calls for 401ks? First of all, maybe Craig, define what a rollover call is. Do you remember how many we did in 2025?
It was over 150, I think, and then quite a bit more, let's say, but maybe in the 250 range. If you include, that's not a phone call, it's paperwork involved in something like that. So it's a number of those every week. With the rollover call, what we are helping them do is move these funds from their 401k into a new IRA, generally with Charles Schwab to begin with for me. And so it's taking those funds from one place, moving them to another, but it's not a taxable event. It's not something that people incur penalties about, all those things.
Yeah, we don't laugh about it, but it is interesting, and it's kind of like me in the medical field. I don't understand medical terminology. I'm constantly getting things confused. My wife, who's a nurse, thinks I'm a complete buffoon trying to keep up with stuff. I just don't understand it. And a lot of our saver clients, I think, as well, sometimes this whole world of financial terms and jargon and 401ks and IRAs, you just hit on something that's really important there, Craig. Explain what an IRA is and why when somebody rolls a 401k over to us, it becomes an IRA, but it really doesn't change. But why do we have to classify it that way?
Yeah, if that individual retirement account, say at Charles Schwab, one of the real confusing things we get with that is, clients will say, our account. And I have to say, it's an individual retirement.
You mean our as in me and my spouse?
Yeah, our account, the two of us, and it's like it's a joint account, but it's not. It's an individual retirement account. So as they move out of that 401k, it's just a different type of account, but still tax sheltered. But thinking about those spouses, when the wife calls in and wants information about it, it's not her account, and so it's just confusing. All these different types of accounts for people because they don't deal with this every day.
And then, so Wes, why is that so important that a 401k has to become an IRA for tax purposes, and why it has to remain an individual account?
Yeah, the only difference between a 401k and an IRA is that a 401k is just an employer-sponsored plan. The employer has set it up for the company's employees. When it moves over to an IRA, it's an individual retirement account. It's an account that person or their advisor has set up for them to have on their own. The differences between the two are that, in a 401k, the investment options are generally pretty limited. Target date funds are popular within 401ks, mutual funds. There's some, there's a number of options, but it's not many. When you move it into an IRA, you could do any number of things. I mean, there's people that will put precious metals into an IRA. We'll put annuity contracts that are titled as IRAs. So there's a lot more flexibility once you move it outside of that employer-sponsored plan.
So let's say, Craig, somebody is getting ready to retire, been laid off, whatever the circumstances are. Now we know the 401k is eligible to be rolled over, even if they're 52 or 53, because they're no longer going to be at the employment. What is our process? What do they need to do to get that 401k rolled over to Tony Walker Financial?
Generally speaking, they just have to be on the line. They have to answer some security questions.
On the line with the current custodian.
Yeah, we call the current custodian. Let's say they're Bad Fidelity, a big company like that. We call in together. They answer some security questions, and then basically the rep at that custodian, like Fidelity, and I can take care of the rest. And so we do a lot of talk. Is this pre-tax? Is it after tax? Is it Roth? When was the first contribution? When did that account open? All of these options about how the check gets to us, because it's a paper check generally. People are surprised about that. What are the options about that? We'll get to the end and I'll say, okay, Mr. Jones, any other questions for me before we let you go? And he'll say, no, I have no idea what we just did. And so, yeah, it's a lot of inside baseball that happens on those kind of calls, but generally with the client, they answer the security questions. They give permission for me to be able to be on the line, to talk about the account, to give direction, and then we get it moved over.
Oh, good deal. So now, Wes, kind of in conclusion on this topic, they bring their check in. We've already got the Schwab account open. It goes to Schwab. And let's just say, for whatever reason, in this case, we might keep it all with Schwab. What is your role, and then what is the staff's role in terms of servicing that account moving forward?
Well, as we're on the topic of layoffs and life changes, let's say they are going through a layoff and they're now considering being fully retired at this point, just stopping the workforce. Well, that's the reason that they're now moving it from a 401k to an IRA. This inflection point of this big change in their life now necessitates that they take another look at their investments, and that's where I would step in. I'd help them to try and determine how much risk they're comfortable taking with any of these accounts, reviewing it in relationship to the game plan that we've constructed for them, and just making sure that they're not taking any inordinate risk that they're not comfortable with before we get the money into the account.
Well, gentlemen, we're about out of time. I tell you what we're going to do. We'll come back at another episode here. What I want to talk to you about is phase 2. That money is already over with us, and maybe these people need a little more detailed plan and how we might come in with Charles Schwab and potentially annuities, and why our ability to trade with in-house and the reaction time we have and the things that we can do for our clients once they retire, I think will be very appropriate for the next conversation. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you feel like the financial world cares more about your money than they do you, we need to talk. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. When you get there, click on that little red box so that information is confidentially sent to our offices, and we will arrange that 10-minute phone call. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply call our toll-free number, 877-499-9255. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you make it a good one and be worry-free.